Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
It's our News Watch unit in today's program, and we're going to be talking about Japan and technology, and we're also going to be talking about something that's going on in India. India, of course, is a huge country in South Asia with lots and lots of people, so of course there are bound to be things happening there that are worth talking about. But the first one in today's lesson is all about some kind of old technology in Japan. And some of you might be too young to remember something called the BBCO or the beeper or the pager. Does anybody remember that? Do you remember that?
I do, sure. Yeah, especially people who had jobs like doctors. I think they still use pagers in the hospital, though. They're little devices that you would hook on your belt or something, and if you had a call come in. Actually, beepers, when I first moved to New York City, for actors and actresses, if they got a call from their agent would beep them, and they'd go and they'd see a number. And then you'd go use a real phone because a beeper wasn't a way to call someone. It was just a quick message with a phone number. And then you'd go and pick up a real phone to get the information you need. Yeah, pagers. Did you ever have one?
Yes, I did here in Taiwan. Not for very long, though. It was something called Alpha Call. Some of you might remember that technology. It would also, yes, it would give you the number of who's calling you, but it would also give that person the opportunity to leave a message on your voicemail or something, and then you just go to a regular phone and dial a code number or something, and then you could hear that message.
I had a phone number that didn't go to any real person, and anyone could call it and leave me a message, and then I'd call into the number. That's what I did. But yeah, beepers, pagers, these are old times, yeah.
But I guess they're getting new life
coming back
in Japan, so we'll find out what that's all about. So let's read through the entire contents of today's News Watch one time. New life for old technology in Japan. Japan has recently been experimenting with different ways to send out emergency warnings to its citizens. Interestingly, the island nation isn't focusing on new technology to do this. Instead, local Japanese governments are making new use of an older system, namely pagers. It turns out that pagers, small radio devices that were popular in the 1990s, have definite advantages over newer technology. First, pagers have much longer battery lives than smartphones. Whereas smartphone batteries tend to die within a couple days, pagers can remain functional up to 15 days in standby mode. Also, the frequency pagers use is more powerful and can reach the insides of buildings more easily. While other devices have been considered, wireless receivers are very costly to install and sometimes have poor signals within buildings. Mass emails are another route, but these cannot reach people who don't have smartphones, which is a concern for Japan's growing elderly population. Pagers seem to be the way forward for now, and this important use for them suggests that the best technology doesn't always have to be the newest.
India tests out happiness classes. In classrooms across Delhi, India, children have a new subject to add to their curriculum. Happiness. 6 days a week, specially trained teachers now lead 35-minute sessions that focus on students' mental well-being and help calm their minds. During these classes, the kids meditate, listen to stories, and discuss their lives and feelings. The government introduced these classes in response to a report from the World Health Organization on the mental health of India's youth. The report says that 1 in 4 13 to 15-year-old kids in the nation suffers from depression. Through introducing happiness classes, Indian officials hope to relieve the pressure of a demanding school environment and give children a place to focus on their mental health. The response from students and teachers has been largely positive so far. Students leave the class feeling optimistic, and teachers say it has also helped them be more aware of their own behavior. The government hopes that happiness classes will remain effective in the long run.
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss today's lesson here. Boy, do I love to discuss things that have to do with Japan.
Why?
Because it seems like they're always on the cutting edge of technology. So that's why it's kind of ironic here that they're actually going backwards here to use an old technology, which they think is actually better than smartphones, especially for their aging population. We'll talk about some of these details in just a couple of seconds here, but the title of the first article for today is New Life for Old Technology in Japan. You oftentimes hear a phrase to breathe new life into something, which means something is still there, but it's not very active. It's almost dead. So somebody comes up with a way to make it interesting, to make it new and exciting. So you breathe new life into something. So perhaps that's what they're doing with this old technology. They're giving it a second chance.
Yeah. Now, we all know, well, most of us should, that app called Line was actually invented, came out of an emergency, that earthquake and big tsunami they had maybe about 8 years ago. It's been a while now.
In 2011, in March, I think.
So that came out of an emergency. Well, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to find other ways to send out emergency warnings to the citizens there in Japan. So interestingly, and what follows after using that word should be interesting, people. Don't use that word if your sentence is boring. Interestingly, the island nation isn't focusing on new technology to do this. It's so interesting that they're actually going back in time and kind of pulling something out from history that used to be used quite frequently, and that's pagers. So instead of focusing on new technology, they're doing this instead. Local Japanese governments are making new use of an older system. What is that system? Namely, pagers. We'll often use that word namely to tell you about what we've been describing up until now. Namely, and then you name it. Then you say what the name is. Because before that word, you're just getting hints about what they're talking about. And suddenly they say namely, and then they tell you.
Right, so for example, I could say there are 4 main islands in Japan, namely Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, and Kyushu. So yes, namely means you actually name or say what you just said, and you're more specific there. So yes, they're making... Yes,
I could say, I have 3 favorite singers, namely Barbra Streisand, Whitney Houston, and Kelly O'Hara. You probably don't know Kelly. She's a Broadway star. Yeah. So yeah, we use it quite frequently. Probably we use it more in our writing than in our conversations, but both are great. Go ahead, Tom. Move on to the second paragraph.
Okay, well, here's this technology. Yeah. It turns out that pagers, small radio devices that were popular in the 1990s, have definite advantages over newer technology. So some of our listeners out there may remember your parents talking about something called a pager, which is also called a beeper, that they used back in the day. But again, you might have heard this word, but you don't know exactly what it is. What's a pager? If you page someone, of course, you announce to someone that they need to come to the front desk or something like that.
Or at the airport, you'll hear people paged, and they'll say, paging Tom Brink, please come to the information desk. There's someone waiting here for you. Those announcements that are broadcast live, they're not recorded, they're live. Those are people paging others.
That happened to me once, actually.
Oh, really?
My friend of mine in Boston paged me at the Boston airport. He was looking for me. So, yes, everybody in the Boston airport that day heard my name out loud. But in any case here, these are pagers, and what they are is small radio devices that were popular way back in the 1990s, and they have definite advantages. Definite here just means absolutely, for sure, very, very clear advantages that you cannot deny. You have to admit that these advantages are real. They have these advantages over newer technology. They actually work better than smartphones, or cell phones or whatever, or your tablet in certain situations.
Right. So first, pagers have much longer battery lives than smartphones. My smartphone is not new anymore, and it runs out of battery so fast. So these are great because the battery lasts longer. Or, as we like to talk about batteries, the battery life is very long. So you can actually talk about a battery as if it's alive. It lives longer than smartphones, whereas smartphone batteries tend to die within a couple of days or one day if you have my phone. Pagers can remain functional or able to operate and have all their functionality for up to 15 days in standby mode. Now, if it's in standby mode, it's on, but you're not using it, so you're not draining the battery life from it. My phone, if I just have it on, but I'm not using it, the battery lasts longer. So that makes sense. So again, functional just means it's operating. Someone could actually say, oh, can I borrow your, what kind of technology do I need? Can I borrow your radio? Is it functional? Does it operate? Is it operating? Is it good? Is it broken? Is it functional? Is it functioning, you could say, too.
Is it working? Okay, so it can be functional or working for up to 15 days if you're just, having it on. And I don't think you can actually send out signals with those. You can only receive signals.
Oh, only receive, yeah.
Yeah. How do you send a signal? I can't remember, though. You got to call and enter a code or something.
With the pager?
Yeah.
You go on a real phone and you call a certain number.
Yeah,
right,
and then they transmit the number.
Then it pages. Yeah, whatever.
Okay, yeah. It's been a long time.
You need a real phone.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, that's actually quite tempting. Maybe I should go back to using one of those.
Tom.
But in any case, also, the frequency pagers use is more powerful and can reach the insides of buildings more easily. So, of course, all these devices depend on frequencies. If you're tuning into your radio, of course, every station has a different frequency, which is expressed in megahertz or kilohertz. If it's the FM radio band, it will be megahertz, like, 88.1 megahertz or something like that. I think that's the station of Shixin University, I think. I think that's it, 88.1 megahertz. But that's their frequency, and pagers, of course, use frequencies, and they're more powerful, and they can reach the insides of buildings more easily, and they can receive those signals better than smartphones or tablets or whatever. Now let's move on to the next paragraph here. It says, while other devices have been considered, wireless receivers are very costly to install and sometimes have poor signals within buildings. So that's a wireless receiver. Maybe they're talking about walkie-talkies or two-way radios there.
Maybe, yeah. So that's one way, but it's very expensive to install. And sometimes these wireless receivers have poor signals within buildings. Buildings will block that message or wave that's being sent out. Most of these mass emails that they've talked about using, just sending out all these emails, they thought, well, that's another possibility, another pathway, another way we can do something. We're calling it a route here. It's just a method we're talking about here. We're not actually talking about a road or how to go from one place to another. It's just another method to inform all the Japanese people about an emergency. They thought about it. Mass emails would go out to everyone, of course, but these can't reach people who don't have cell phones. So if they were outside, they'd never get it, right? They're not close to their computers. And that's a concern for Japan's growing elderly population. I don't know about you, Tom, but my grandma and grandpa didn't use the internet. So they're trying to find a device that will work with lots of different generations, you could say.
My parents are able to use cell phones, and my dad is pretty good at the internet, but my mother, of course, doesn't want to touch that stuff. She likes regular phones. So I think that's what they're talking about here. These old people in Japan just probably don't know how to use smartphones like the kids do. And pagers seem to be the way forward. That seems to be the way to get them to use these devices, at least for now. And this important use for them suggests that the best technology doesn't always have to be the newest. So yes, they're breathing new life into pagers, and hopefully in emergency situations, older people can be reached easily and they can get to safety if there's another earthquake or typhoon or whatever. Okay, that brings us to the midway point in our lesson for today. Let's hear now from our Chinese teacher.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 首先来看到今天文章的第一个句子写着 Japan has recently been experimenting with different ways to send out emergency warnings to its citizens. 在这里提到呢，日本呢最近一直在实验，用不同的方式向人民来发出紧急的警告。在这里我们说做怎么样的实验，你可以把 experiment 这个字用来当作动词。Experiment with something 就是用什么来做实验，因为日本这个地方呢，地震还有很多呢，都是很多灾难的一个国家，所以我们必须要想办法能够防灾救急。在第二段的第一个句子提到It turns out that pagers, small radio devices that were popular in the 1990s, have definite advantages over newer technology.在英文里面我们看到 it turns out that 来加子句，或者是 turn out to be 都可以解释成为结果是怎么样。举个例子来说，有一些东西一刚开始看起来很简单的事，常常结果是困难的。我们就可以说 What seems easy at first often turns out to be difficult.在这里呢，日本结果发现啊，在1990年代所流行的这个小型无线电装置呢，比较新的技术相比较之下是具有明显的优势。在这里我们用的是 definite advantages。Definite 在这里当作形容词，有明确的、肯定的意思。接着再来看到第三段的第一个句子 While other devices have been considered, wireless receivers are very costly to install and sometimes have poor signals within buildings.在这里提到呢，虽然也有考虑了其他的装置 consider 在这里是考虑的意思，但是无线接收器 wireless receivers 它的安装的成本实在是非常的高，而有时候在建筑物里面的信号也很微弱。在这里的 install 就有安装跟设置的意思，像是在屋子里面装冷气，你就可以说To install an air conditioner in the house. 那么最后我们来看一下这一篇的最后一句 Pagers seem to be the way forward for now, and this important use for them suggests that the best technology doesn't always have to be the newest.这里提到的 the way forward, forward 原来当作副词，有向前或者是今后。The way forward 指的就是一个未来的方向跟趋势。看起来 pagers 呼叫器就是现在的趋势了，而它的重要的用途就代表了一件事情，就是最好的科技不一定总是最新的。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about two news stories. We just finished talking about how they're going to bring back the pager, paging technology in Japan, which is kind of funny. I still see some shows on TV where doctors and nurses, especially doctors, are still using pagers. They're really very handy. Moving on to the next story, India is testing out these happiness classes for kids. It says in classrooms across Delhi, India. Delhi, of course, is a city there.Children have a new subject that they're going to add to their curriculum, and that's happiness. Notice we just add the colon there. They're going to do something, add it to the curriculum. What is it? Happiness, which is something I think a lot of kids could use these days. A lot of kids are stressed out, they're frustrated or depressed, and they have too much. And they're finding that the kids in India are actually suffering from some depression. We'll talk about that. This word curriculum refers to your courses.Especially in school, right? So what's your curriculum going to be? In college, I'm going to take history and math and communications, and that's your curriculum.
I'd have to look at my high school transcripts to remember my high school curriculum. I think we had algebra and English and Spanish and history and stuff like that, but I don't really remember. That was quite some time ago. But they're adding this new subject to their curriculum, and that's happiness. And 6 days a week, specially trained teachers now lead 35-minute sessions that focus on students' mental well-being and help calm their minds. So I guess from this sentence, we can tell that kids in India have to go to school 6 days a week, unless Saturday is optional or something like that. But in any case, they have these specially trained teachers, not just regular teachers, but specially trained teachers. And they have these 35-minute sessions. So they're not too long, they're not too short, they're just about right. And this is a session, which is a period of something in which something takes place. Class is in session. You hear that sometimes. You could say these are 35-minute classes, I guess, and they focus on students' mental well-being. Your well-being means how well you are, especially mentally. Are you happy? Are you functioning okay? And, of course, these classes also help calm their minds, get them to calm down and not be under so much stress.
What do? Well, during these classes, they help kids meditate, which means you're really quiet, you don't talk, you think a lot. Deep breathing is involved. They also can listen to stories and just discuss their lives and their situations and some of their feelings with the class and their classmates. If some of them want to share, not everyone's going to want to share, but that's what they're trying to help the kids do, is express themselves so that they can get rid of some of the stress that's building up inside them. The government introduced these classes in response to a report from the World Health Organization, or WHO as we call it, on the mental health of India's youth. So in response to is a phrase we use when something happens and then someone reacts to it or responds to it. So I actually bought a lot of plants for my apartment in response to the bad air that was in my neighborhood, in my apartment, because the plants help clean the air a little bit in response to something. So somebody reacts to something that happened to them, and that's their response. So there was a report, and because of that report, the government thought, wow, we got to do something for our kids, our youth in India. What does the report say, Tom?
The report says that 1 in 4 13 to 15-year-old kids in the nation suffers from depression. So, of course, we're describing the kids, we're describing their age. So you say 13-year-old kids, 15-year-old kids. Don't say 15-years-old kids. You could say the kids are 15 years old, but if we're describing the kids, then you say 15-year-old kids. I'm a 20-year-old boy, for example.
Yeah, with hyphens there. Notice that, guys. 15-year-old kid. So 15-year-old turns into a 形容词. So that's what we're doing there. That's 25% of their kids from 13 to 15 that are suffering from depression. If you're depressed, you feel down, you don't have any hope. Sometimes it's really serious, and people who are very depressed can't even get out of bed. So I think it's a great thing to focus on helping 25% of the kids there. That's crazy. So through introducing happiness classes, Indian officials hope to relieve the pressure of a demanding school environment. You can have a demanding teacher, a demanding job, a demanding boss. They ask a lot of you. They put a lot of pressure on you. They don't have to be mean. It doesn't mean they're mean. It just means they have high expectations for you.
Right, and some jobs are demanding, some aren't. When I was a parking lot attendant in university, it was not a very demanding job.
I can imagine.
But you might work for a stock brokerage or something like that, where people are calling constantly and wanting to buy and sell stocks. That could be quite demanding, quite stressful. And I guess from this we can tell that kids in India are under a lot of pressure to succeed or whatever. And so this class here gives them a chance to relieve that pressure of their demanding classes And it also gives children a place to focus on their mental health, again, discussing their problems openly with the other students. And the response from students and teachers has been largely positive so far, which means they like it. It's a good idea. And students leave the class feeling optimistic.
Yay.
And teachers say it has also helped them be more aware of their own behaviors. If you're optimistic, that means you look forward to the future. Things are going to be okay. Things are going to be great. You're optimistic. The opposite, of course, is pessimistic. Oh, you're such a pessimistic person. Why do you look on the negative side of things all the time?
Yeah, now the noun form of this word, this is an adjective, is an optimist. Oh, my dad's an optimist. Oh, my mom's a pessimist. And in the middle, if you're not too negative or too positive, you're a realist or realistic. So you need to learn those words. Those are great words. The government hopes that happiness classes will remain effective in the long run. In the long run just means over the long term, that they won't just be successful in the short term or the short run. You can use short run as well. That they'll be effective or do what they want them to do. They'll be successful in producing that result for a long time to come. We hope so too. Right now, guys, we're going to listen to our Chinese teacher one more time.
接着我们来看到在这里的 happiness classes 快乐的课程，第一段第一句提到 In classrooms across Delhi, India, children have a new subject to add to their curriculum, happiness. 在这里提到呢，印度德里的教室里面，孩子们的课程加入了一个新的学科，叫做快乐课。Curriculum 指的呢就是一门课程。举例来说，这位教授正忙于准备他的化学课程计划。The professor is busy preparing his chemistry curriculum plan. 而呢，这门称之为快乐课，就是希望呢能够注重学生的心理健康。在这里的第二段第一句提到The government introduced these classes in response to a report from the World Health Organization on the mental health of India's youth. 这里的 in response to 解释成为作为什么的回应。为什么要设计快乐课程呢？正是因为当地的政府呢，回应世界卫生组织The World Health Organization 一项有关于印度青年心理健康的报告而采用了这个课程。我们再来看看 in response to 造一个句子 She laughed in response to his jokes 也就是说她听了他的笑话以大笑作为回应。接下来在第二段的最后一句提到 Through introducing happiness classes, Indian officials hope to relieve the pressure of a demanding school environment and give children a place to focus on their mental health. 那么透过呢采用这样子的快乐课程，印度的政府官员就是希望能够减轻这些严谨学校环境所带来的压力。我们先来看看 relieve 这个动词，解释成为缓和跟减轻的意思。To relieve distress 就是有具缓和困苦。To relieve itching 也就是有止痒的意思。因为这样的学校环境是非常的 demanding， 在这里有苛刻的或高要求的，所以他们希望能够让孩童能够专注于心理健康的场合。上了这个课的感觉如何呢？在最后一段的第二句提到 Students leave the class feeling optimistic and teachers say it has also helped them be more aware of their own behavior. 学生们变得更乐观，而老师也说这样的课程帮助他们更加了解自己的行为。在这里的 optimistic 形容词解释成为乐观的意思。OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And please make sure that all of your news is good news in the future. And join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie. See
ya.